Welcome, Amal. Thank you for joining us today.
I am so excited to be here with you, Farah.
Thank you so much. Tell us more about who Amal is. What does Amal do? For those who might not know you.
So, to make it as brief as possible, my name is Amal Murad. I am 28 years old, and I started my journey as a graphic designer, actually. I studied in the American University of Sharjah in the major or bachelor's degree of multimedia design. So where I am right now is nowhere near where I was. But because of that, I feel what's important to take from all of this is that I had to figure out who I am through my own journey. And for me, fitness was that journey because I've always been an athlete since I was a child. And it just basically is my transition going from the corporate world to more of the fitness world. And very recently, I've also become a mom. So not only did I, become a coach, but I wanted what was so important for me was to be that person to guide women in the fitness journey, regardless of where they are in their lives. And I think that's I wanted to be that. I needed that person when I quit my job. I needed someone to guide me in fitness, and I didn't have that. So I wanted to be that for other women, especially when it comes to information that's being told to us from such a young age. I don't know if I'm rambling on, but what I come to learn is that most of the things that we have learned when it comes to the biology of the human being, the research has been done on men and not on women. That's why there's so much that we do not know, because so much is not being done on the female body. So this is where I'm trying to bridge the gap by learning more and inshallah being that person for people.
And figure it out
along the way.
Along the way, it's so beautiful. Tell us more about, I'm sure it wasn't easy to be going through your pregnancy journey as an athlete who's looking at fitness, looking at staying fit, and seeing your body go through changes. Tell us more about that experience, if you don't mind.
So what's super important to understand is that I started as an athlete and then I became a coach. But as an athlete, there's so much pressure to live up to because you're always wanting to be the best in the field that you're in. And there's a lot of ego too when it comes to being an athlete, whether we like to admit it or not, because you're hustling and you're kind of being taught to push past pain, push past discomfort. And then when I became a coach, that's where things kind of came into perspective when I got pregnant, because so first I was a personal trainer. But when you're a personal trainer, you don't learn the specifics. You learn to coach the general public. So when I got pregnant, none of what I learned applied to me as a woman who is pregnant. I couldn't train the same way as when I was not pregnant. So that's when I decided that I needed to get certified. I needed to study and do the work so that I could coach people. So going from an athlete, definitely it was really hard to tone back training. And I think in general, we are taught to go hard or go home or reality. That's the worst way to go because life is not linear. Especially as a woman, it's not linear. You are going to go through, literally, I was drawing it down for myself, right? I was like seeing where I was, where I've become, what. And it's not like you're not progressing, but it's a different stage, different phase. So the way that I think about training now is intention is super important. When you're an athlete, when you don't have responsibilities, when your goal is to get stronger, I don't mind you be pushing that limit. Some people even train twice a day, but it's for the reason of competing. But when you're pregnant, your intention needs to change completely behind training. You're training not to hit personal best or to lift the heaviest or to run the fastest. Your goal for these 9 months is to just stay healthy. And what was the problem is that staying healthy is very relative, right? Every person thinks like staying healthy is then hadi bajri, or I'll do whatever. And there has to be an understanding that each person is going to be different, and there has to be an understanding that you have to know what the changes are in your body. So when, for example, I was like in the trimester, generically speaking, you will have those, first trimester morning sickness. Yeah. And exhausted, you want to sleep all the time. And then second trimester, you have a little bit more energy and you feel like you can train more. Third trimester is like, khalas, you can't even sleep well. You can't even breathe. Oh my God. My daughter was breech almost my whole pregnancy because I had gestational diabetes. So she was just floating around and she was always breech. So I couldn't breathe the whole pregnancy. But like even when that happened to me, so gestational diabetes happens usually for pregnant women. I was healthy. I supposedly ate well. But there are things that are out of our control. There are things that you will not be able to do. And I think letting go of that control and understanding there's like a big part you can't control. There's a huge part you can't control. That really needs to be toned down and, explained to every woman that it's not your fault for anything that happens to you during pregnancy. Especially, for example, women who get C-sections. Yeah. You might train your whole pregnancy and be the healthiest person alive and still end up with a complicated delivery and complicated pregnancy. And I think that's our sacrifice as mothers, is that we don't know. We don't know what will happen. And so when I got pregnant, that was I don't know. I don't know what will happen. I need to take a step back. I need to understand and take it day by day. I literally went from training 6 times a day to training like once a week. Oh no, 6 times a week. 6 times a day. So 6 a week to training once a week. And I was hurt, like really beating myself up. I was sad to some extent, but then you realize, is this really worth it? Why am I mad? Is it my ego? Is it because of this programming, right? Go hard or go home. You have to keep pushing. And if we think about fitness as a holistic approach, you need to push some days and you need to chill on some days. And pregnancy is temporary at the end of the day. It's only 9 months. And then you can work on getting stronger again. So these 9 months, it has to be a time for you to modify and adapt. I think what I learned the hard way was that to be a good athlete, you have to learn to adapt to whatever comes your way. So in the beginning, before I got pregnant, I broke my arm and I needed to adapt to my broken arm. And then I got pregnant and I needed to adapt to my pregnancy and my postpartum. So it really is, understanding that it's not in your control and you can take a step back. There's no shame in that. That's what I'm trying to say.
And that's so beautiful. But for mothers who feel that constant pressure, whether it's from themselves, their families, their surroundings, on gaining weight during pregnancy or gaining weight after pregnancy.
Of course.
Your perspective and going through that journey, how were you able to manage that mental state of it's okay to take a step back?
I think this is why when a lot of women come to me during pregnancy, so I have girls who've never trained before. Suddenly they get pregnant. Well, Amal, I want to train because I don't want to gain weight. Like, that's not how it works. You don't come to me during pregnancy and you will gain weight, whether you like it or not. And I was so careful not to tell people how much weight I gained, because I know people will start comparing themselves to me. And that is not the case. I really don't like it when personal trainers are like, I only gained 10 kgs and I lost all of them in the first month. What did I benefit from this other than you kind of showing off or like pretending that your program can promise you that. It's impossible to promise anyone that kind of result. But I would definitely think that knowledge is the best way, and actually taking the time to educate yourself. So a lot of the moms, or even people who haven't even gotten pregnant yet, they come and talk to me, and they talk to me about these concerns. I have to sit them down and explain to them. I want them to train before they get pregnant, not because of the weight, was because I want them to build a strong foundation for the postpartum. Postpartum is when you're going to be really recovering the most. So I want them to have some kind of foundation so that when they get back to it, it's not something, because you already don't feel like you're in your body.
Yeah.
That's super important to like address that. Once I gave birth, I was super depressed. Even as an athlete, I couldn't move properly. I couldn't do the things that I'm used to. I wasn't connecting with my core. But again, I need to take a step back. I read my notes. I actually wrote notes for me for when I got certified. Like, what are you, like, you are going to go through stages. And a lot of people even call that the fourth trimester. So it's you're still going through things, right? After you give birth. It's not something that's magic, khalas, baby's out of you and you're done. Educating yourself, getting someone to come in, and I explained to her that movement is the most important part. If you can hinge properly, if you can connect your core properly, if you can squat properly, you're protecting your knees, your joints, everything that comes with being a mother, because people don't understand how laborious it is. If I can help you get stronger for that phase in your life, weight loss will come. And people, unfortunately, especially in this region, they think they need to lose weight and then train.
Yeah.
Like cardio and then train. That's not how it works. These come together. There are days you're going to do more endurance work, but you need to, your body needs to be able to take stress.
Yeah.
Kind of load. So running, for example, I would never advise anyone to just go run randomly if they haven't really built the basics for their knees, for their ankles, and for them to, even postpartum, your pelvic floor won't be able to handle you running. So how will you supposedly lose weight if you're actually putting more harm than good, if you're doing the things that we are told that will help for you to lose weight, like running, cardio, cycling, or whatever. So I really need to like bring them back and tell them, like, we have a list of things that once we achieve, I'll be more than happy to kind of help you with your weight loss goal. Because there's no shame for someone to have an aesthetic goal.
Yeah.
If someone wants to lose weight, someone wants to look good, that's their goal, and they have a right to feel that. But they need to understand all that comes with it, and how much effort that it takes to reach a point where you kind of love your body. I'm like against this concept, because loving your body is something that's later. It's a very, very far goal, and it's too much pressure to put on someone. For now, all I'm asking is to accept your body and accept the changes. Love will come later. The more you understand your body, the more you build the foundation, the more you'll love it. But just saying, oh, love your body regardless of where you are, it's a little too much to ask of someone.
And you touched on it, but I want to expand a little bit more. Our bodies change during pregnancy, and especially postpartum as well. How was your ability to kind of pull yourself together to see yourself through the pregnancy, through the fourth trimester? And as you said, there was an element of depression, and you had this little being that you needed to take care of, and you wanted to go back to how Amal was before all of this. And there's a lot of things in the mix. So can you tell us more about how you managed your mental well-being?
Support. And you're actually in one of the mom groups that I'm in. For me, I was invited to a WhatsApp group. We were I think we were 50 girls, and now, mashallah, I think 200 and above. And what I loved about the group is that anything you write, even if it's like 3 a.m, people will answer. It's literally the group that never sleeps because we're all mothers. But I needed support from other mothers. I think it's super important that we realize that we're all going through things together, because as we'd love to say that our families understand, but there's still, I feel, we're shy to kind of open up about these things. And a lot of it is we're programmed to think that we're not the first woman to give birth. Why are we complaining, right? That's what we've been taught since childhood, whether we'd like to think that that's not the case, but it is. Like, we're taught to kind of keep things in and not talk about things, especially when it comes to depression, especially when it comes to things like bringing a baby into this life. Mashallah, if you see our grandparents, they've given birth to like 12 children, and then here we are with one, and we're like, I don't know what's happening to me. But because of that, these conversations with mothers who are going through the same things really helped me in that process, and looking for the right people to talk to. The worst thing I did was look to social media, the worst thing, because athletes who were like me, suddenly, not even 3 weeks later, their body's like nothing. And for me, it took me a year to feel normal, not even my body coming back to what it looked like, but it took me a year because I was breastfeeding. My daughter didn't even take the bottle. I pumped so much milk, and I ended up throwing all of it, because even when it's my milk, she doesn't take the bottle. And that in itself caused me so much, anxiety. And, when I didn't want to let go of her, because, it built a bond between me and my daughter. But again, my whole life was scheduled around 2 hours, because every 2 hours I needed to breastfeed her for almost a year. And so you can't expect a person who has the schedule to suddenly think about fitness goals. Like, right now you're going through a phase. Although it was the time I was creating my own program for moms, so that we'll get into that on my actually at first. And I kept erasing so many things, because I was like, this is unrealistic. I can't do it. And I'm supposedly a trainer. But now as a mom, I can't expect myself to do all of this. So I had to change the workouts that I was creating for moms to be able to handle their schedule. So for example, instead of 5 times a week, 3 times a week. And genuinely, it was hard enough to get 3 times a week in. Yeah. So I was, okay, what if someone couldn't do 3 times a week? How do I accommodate to that person? What if that person isn't able to do certain movements yet? How do I keep it entertaining at the same time? Because rehab is boring, exercise for rehab is boring, like breathing and learning how to engage your core. So I had to find a way to also put some challenges for moms, so that even though it's work, it's tedious, but I want them to feel like every week they're getting stronger and stronger. So I kept myself busy by working when I had the time. Keep in mind that this program supposedly in my head would have taken 3 months. It took me almost 9 months to finish. So another Maybe I had to film all of this, because I had to film the tutorials and I had to write down the descriptions. So it's like I film a 1-minute video. My daughter cries for 2 hours, another 1-minute video. It was crazy. But I wanted it to come out when it did, when I was ready. But it's about taking it day by day. I think, again, we're putting too much pressure on women to kind of bounce back, because there's no such thing as bouncing back. And people take it as a negative connotation, but the same way that your life has changed and will never be the same, your body has changed and will never be the same. And there's a phrase that they say, and I always keep that in mind, this postpartum is forever. You will learn about your body. This is your new body forever. So you want to love it. You want to be able to, and saying that your body is different doesn't mean that you're weaker. I know a lot of girls who got stronger postpartum. They're pre-body or pre-whatever. But it's different. And I think we need to accept that it's different. We are different. I still have movements that I used to do before pregnancy, that I'm still not comfortable doing, even though I'm 2 years postpartum. I still get symptoms somewhat, and I'm still working on my core to get to that point where I feel comfortable doing. One of the movements is a double under. I don't know if you know that. It's basically you skip twice with a jump rope. I still feel like I have the urgency to pee when I do it. I still feel like I am not in control of my pelvic floor as much. So I'm still easing myself back into it. Does that mean I can't do it forever? No. Does that mean do I need work? Yeah, but each person will have things that he'll need to work on, and depending on his situation, basically.
That's so beautiful. And hearing about your journey and realizing that even for someone who has been probably working out and training for the good part of their life, it's still a long journey, and it takes patience, it takes understanding, it takes being kind to ourselves before anything else. Working on your program, did it help you kind of realize that as much as moms want to go back into shape because of how their children their little ones might be crying, similar to your daughter, that might not find the strength or the will to, let alone the time, to make that program. So tell us more about that part, and then maybe a bit more about the programs that you've put together.
So it's super important to understand that everyone's life is going to be different. And what I hate the most in the fitness industry is that there's so much shame. And the more shame people feel, the less chance that they will start in any journey into fitness. Like if you tell someone, I remember they posted a video of someone with a disability and said, look at him, what's your excuse? Yeah. And I was like, why are we comparing these two journeys together? Why are you making the other person feel guilty for not getting into fitness? Is that really the best approach of encouraging anyone to change their life? I've never, me personally, these things never pushed me. It actually kind of did the reverse. It didn't encourage me at all. I just felt really ashamed. Even if it pushes you to start, you will not continue in that journey. So it's understanding each and every person. So what I try to do is before any person purchases my program, I get to have a one-on-one consultation. It's free. I just want to talk to the person just to understand them more and to talk to them about their journey. So there are a lot of things I can't disclose because of their privacy, but they're they're telling me about their lives. They're telling me about their journeys. They're telling me about how hard it was to get pregnant, and the concepts that we are even ashamed to talk about, whether it's miscarriages, whether it's, there's so many taboo subjects that people are so shy to talk about because they feel it's their fault. Again, more shame, right? So once I talk to them and I tell them, listen, I will be there and I will, talk to you every couple of weeks to make sure that you're on track, but to also see how you're doing, Some people, they stop midway and I tell them, like, listen, I want you to get back into it when you have the time. But it's so understandable that they stopped because I myself have stopped when I was making the program 1,000 times. So how do I expect this person to live? But I tell them, like, when you're ready, do it. Yeah. Girl, she was 2 weeks postpartum. She's like, I want to start now. I said, you can, if you get the okay from your doctor, but is it really worth it to start right now? Why do you feel so much pressure to start right now? Because, I want to lose the weight. I want to get back. I was like, then it's not the right reason. I want you to come back because you want to feel stronger. And that was actually really interesting because in my website, it's in bold. I write down, this is not a weight loss program. When they purchase, because, and by the way, I would make so much more money if I wrote that because people want that. Yeah. But I'm telling them, I'm here to help you get stronger. I'm not here to help you lose weight. You might lose weight from the program, But there are 500,000 factors that might be not letting you lose weight at the moment, whether it's cortisol, lack of sleep, high hormone levels when you're breastfeeding, even low hormone, low estrogen. It could be from all the things that happen postpartum, trauma to your body, C-section, you could have a minor prolapse, your body's still healing. So there's so many things that might be limiting you or not letting you reach your targets at the moment. So I tell them, like, I'm here to help you get stronger so that you can go back into a fitness routine. You can start having goals like weight loss, but there has to be something that comes before that. There has to be guidance to help you get to that point. Because you hear it all the time. People are like, I've been training for 2 years and there's no difference in my body. Like, what are you really doing? I don't know about your training, but if you're doing random things for 2 years, yeah, of course you won't see progress. And people like social media and the influencers, they're posting like really fancy workouts, lunge into like a bicep curl, into like a twist, these movements. Yeah, sure, they're pretty, but when it comes to the actual basic movements, they're boring. It's repetition, repetition on repetition. That's how you get stronger. Whether it's squats, in order to get to heavier squats and for your body to need more muscles and burn more fat in order to lift something off the ground, you need to repeat it 500 times. You need to get the form right. And there actually is an equation that when I got certified, and it made so much sense, that you have 4 stages, right? The first stage of working out is called learning. So now you're learning the movement. The squat, for example, are you squatting properly? Are you hinging properly? Do you feel pain in your knees? How are your ankles? Do you have the ankle mobility to go low past 90 degrees? Like, these are the things that we're kind of learning now. After you've established the learning part, there's the control part. This is where reps come in, repetitions. How do I know you're getting stronger? Maybe today you could do 5 squats normally, and next 5 squats are on a chair because you felt pain in the 5th squat or 6th squat. Maybe the next day you can do 6 squats and then 4 on the chair, and then 7 squats and then 3 on the chair. So control comes into play, where I start introducing repetitions. Then we think about load, and we think about maybe adding more weight. And then weight, again, it's the same process. You're doing it for repetitions with control, getting higher. The last step is explode, which is explosiveness, which is where things like jumping jacks, box jumps, double unders, running, whatever it is, this is the last step. But if you see programs right now, this is the first step. Yeah. Oh, you want to do all of the crazy stuff. But like, what about all the other steps that you missed? Your body didn't even need to kind of build the right foundation for the last step. So I tell them, yeah, that's why you don't see progress. You didn't do any of what is required for your body to adapt to the movement that you're doing. I know people doing squat jumps like 500 a day or whatever, and they can't even squat properly. Why are you jumping with a squat if you can't squat properly? So again, this is the process that I try to explain to people. So when you give birth, even if you could squat 100 kgs while you're pregnant, let's say while you're pregnant, the difference between pregnancy and postpartum is pregnancy is 9 months and it's gradual. Yeah, you're taking your postpartum is a day. You postpartum in like less than a day. So the 9 months is like your body even is getting used to the 9 months. It's gradual. Everything's slowly changing. Postpartum is the day after. So suddenly everything that your body was used to is shifted. Your center of gravity, your body awareness, your muscles that were stretched out for the baby suddenly are just there. And you're like, what do I do with this? Yeah. You're starting the learning. You're learning how to move this body again, to control that body again. Then we're going to think about all the crazy that comes after that.
And why do you think such a thought out journey for exercising, especially for those who are pregnant or postpartum? Because as you said, it's an instant shift. Having something specialized, something catered to mothers, why do you feel that's something that is important, one? And two, how do you see it playing a role in their well-being, whether physical or mental?
It's everything. When I got pregnant, there were no resources. I swear to God, it was so hard for me to find something that was legit, not only to me, but to actually follow as a pregnant woman. Even as an athlete, I wasn't comfortable jumping, or I wasn't comfortable, like my body wasn't ready to do these things anymore. So why am I pushing myself? So I needed that guidance. And I feel like I didn't find it, especially in the region. Outside, I found a lot, like in the States. That's where I got certified. The online course was from the States, but I needed that here. The programs or the things that were here were very generic and very superficial. And because of the way that the world is working right now, everything's commercial. The fitness industry is commercial. And you know who's getting hurt the most in that process? Women. Women are getting hurt because we are the ones who are not only sexualized in every case in the world. It's all about our bodies, about how we look, about it's so like I said, superficial. Women's health. I never heard what a pelvic floor was before. I didn't even know diastasis recti existed. I didn't know that there's a possibility that you can get prolapse even if you just had one baby. When you hear things like prolapse, even when I'm talking to my parents and I'm talking to them about this case, they're like, oh, when you're old and you gave birth to 12 kids, that's when, these things happen. I was like, no, it can happen. Even when you're pushing for a long period of time during delivery, prolapse can happen where your organs fall a little lower. And sometimes it needs surgery, needs, interference in that sense. But I feel like the reason why there's so much fear is because there's so much we aren't taught.
True.
And so that I feel like the less afraid you are, whether it's pregnancy or the changes that happen postpartum. You're more prepared in that sense. And that makes a huge difference when it comes to, mental health. Because I'm still shocked. When I gave birth, I needed to have an episiotomy, and I wasn't even told that I would be given the episiotomy. And afterwards, I'm like, no one told me. No one even explained to me this. And it's such a weird way to live, but we kind of, all of us at some point, now we're kind of more aware, but we were all in the dark. We have no idea what we're doing, taking it, winging it, whether it's raising a child, whether it's giving birth, whether it's getting pregnant, or even training. We're just like, we'll see what comes and we'll do it. And that's not, I don't feel like that's a healthy way for anyone to live, especially when it comes to these changes that may occur.
Very beautifully said, Amal. Thank you. Just before we close the episode, I would like to give you a chance to kind of give advice for that mom who's going through pregnancy or postpartum and feels that pressure to not gain weight during pregnancy or having to lose weight right after delivery. What would your advice be?
My advice would be, I want you to think about who you're going to be when you're 60. I want you to be the kind of grandmother that's still hip, that still goes to weddings, who still, carries your grandchildren. You want to be that person. When you're 60, you really are not going to care about how much you weigh. Inshallah. That's not, your goal is to be able to move properly, to stand up from a chair without, using help or needing help. And although this may seem very, far into the future, but I swear, I didn't know just how much I've been taking my health for granted until I broke my arm. So I wouldn't want you to wait for something drastic to happen to you, for you to think that it's time for me to think about my health. And when I say health is about your well-being. how you look. You could be the most ripped person in the world and might have a six-pack, and you might still suffer, whether your core may still be dysfunctional. You might still feel pain in places you're not supposed to feel pain. And I had a lot of people come to me that even though they looked amazing, they suffered so much, but they stayed silent because they looked good, right? And I wouldn't want anyone to live that way. I want you to feel good and look good, but I want the foundation of everything you're ever going to do for the rest of your life, whether it's, like I said, carrying groceries, carrying your child, getting out of the car, going to the desert. Now it's winter time. I want you to be able to perform all these things with no pain and to live your life in the most healthy way possible. So, my advice would be take it day by day, learn more about your health and what it involves. It's not just about how you look. If you feel like you can't train alone, maybe find a community. I feel that really helped me. Community of girls, whether training, or whether you just feel like you want to talk to these people, because it makes a huge difference. I remember some days my friend, mashallah, wakes up 5:30 in the morning to go train. Sometimes I get encouraged to do that, except that my daughter doesn't sleep at all. But I talk to her and be like, I want to come. Please push me to come some days. I want to just try something new, for example. And she helps me do that. But the most important thing I'd have to say is don't feel ashamed to ask questions. Don't feel ashamed to go through changes. And don't be ashamed of wanting or needing help. That is the most important part.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much, Amal. And if you'd like to share with us some, how can people reach you? How can people get in touch with Amal and hear more about what Amal does?
So I have a website and an Instagram account. So you can find me on Instagram at leap.of.hope. And if you want my website, it's www.leapofhope.fit. The programs are there. I have 3 programs. I have one for moms, postpartum. I have one for beginners who you don't even need to be pregnant. If you don't need to be a mom either. If someone hasn't gone to the gym and doesn't know how to start. And I have another program for people who have gone to the gym, but they don't feel motivated to go anymore and they want to train at home.
Beautiful. Thank you very, very much, Amal, for your honesty, for your openness, and for your insights when it comes to the link between our physical well-being, our physical health, and our mental well-being. Thank you. Thank you.
You.
See you. Ma as-salama.
Ma as-salama.